hey, everyone, Park, get a job here. And I've debated other people on Jubilee in the past. So I thought I would post a video of me debating this person who debated Sam Seder on Jubilee. And they were someone who posed themselves as sort of a libertarian, right? A free market capitalist sort of MAGA individual who says that they hold like some sort of economically superior position to the liberal. So I got to debate him on all these different types of issues. And unlike Jubilee, we get to go through practically everything. And if this video gets enough likes, I might post the part two on this as well. So make sure to subscribe if you're new and enjoy the video.
Because he had you asked earlier about provisions. He had that capital, I forgot what it's called, the exact name of the provision, but I know it's set to expire, I think, in 2026 completely. You know what I'm talking about?
What particular provision led to like more companies investing in the United States?
It was
to a degree
it was
in which like makes sense given the level of debt-related spending that would come from the TCJA.
yeah, it's a good question. I forgot the exact name of the provision, but it was essentially like if you brought your um, business back to and manufacturing back to the U.S., you had a huge tax incentive. I can pull it up. But
Okay, but like you understand that like giving tax cuts in the United States would be, I would argue, preferable comparative to like other sorts of things if you're trying to incentivize people to produce in the United States. So like I would give you that, but like one thing as it relates to this is that like I don't think that the level of spending that we saw from the TCJA like would make sense in terms of what we get from it. And I think that the opportunity cost for spending that money on other things is pretty bad in comparison. Like if we look at the TCJA, like I can reference a liberal and conservative economist from Harvard that indicated around 0.04% annual GDP growth coming from the TCJA. So like like on a central estimate, I just don't think that that's going to be like a reliable level of like growth that we would see because that's around $8 billion, 8 to like $16 billion. So I don't understand how that would be at all relevant because if we were to assume like 1/7 or even 1/5 of them being of GDP being in revenue, it's none of that would even like make out to the $190 billion of debt related spending every single year. We're talking about debt spending, so even taking into account those revenues.
yeah, look, I totally agree that we have to reduce spending, and I think that's what Doge is exactly aimed to do. Like so, I'm not going to disagree with you on that at all. But in general, like we saw revenues go way up under TCJA, and we saw those capital provisions. I just pulled up the numbers here. Essentially, it allowed businesses to like expense 100% of qualified capital investments as long as they were doing it in the U.S. And it was set to depreciate. So 80 by 2023 went to 80%, 60% in 2024, 40%, and so on. And it's like set to expire after 2026. But I think that really helped bring manufacturing back, wealth creation back to the country. And I think that's in line with like his entire, America first, whatever agenda. So,
But for the level of spending, it doesn't make sense. You could have put that $190 billion of debt related spending into just American investment itself, and that would have done more. Don't you agree? Like
well,
100,
what do you mean, like,
$190 billion a year that you could just
what do
put
you,
directly into business investment?
so how would that actually look like? Like, can you give me an example? Like, what do you mean by business
Yeah,
investment?
yeah. Like you could say to produce particular types of things, you could get a subsidy, right? That would cause more production increase, correct?
Well,
And you're
yeah,
using the
but
same amount of money. And you're
we
also
do that as
directing
well.
them towards the exact type of goal that you have.
But we do that. I mean, right? Like we have so many industries that
But
are
no, but
subsidized.
you're asking for this tax cut that predominantly is going to help rich people that doesn't create this incentive necessarily, right?
But
They
when
could
you
use their
say,
money in any other way they would like, not incentive towards production particularly. So if you
but
want to
when you
incentivize domestic production to increase, why don't you use this money to directly incentivize that production to increase?
Well, because the tax cuts are felt by when you say primarily helps rich people, like what do you mean exactly?
Yeah, yeah. Income tax is progressive. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
Of course, I
then
agree.
if you
Yeah,
cut income tax, that's going to mean that like most of the tax cuts in a nominal sense are going to go to people who are rich.
right. Like
Okay.
because it's
And then also to
percentage.
clarify, like you want to replace this with a tariff, which is regressive because consumers are going to be spending a disproportionate level of their income right on consumer goods comparative to people who are rich. So
I get
you're
what you're
talking about
saying.
replacing a progressive tax structure with a regressive tax structure, and then you're trying to brand it as if it's better for the middle class.
Well, I get what you're saying by like that it's regressive, and yeah, you could make that argument, but at least tariffs have a utility of bringing back jobs to America. Like I'm generally against tariffs, but I do think that the way Trump is utilizing tariffs is beneficial in the long term. Like yes, it might cause like short-term CPI increase, right? But uh, I think that the left policies, like Kamala's policies, were extremely inflationary, and I don't think that they were going to be sustainable at all.
How many US companies rely on certain aspects of their production process that come from other countries around the world that are going to be tariffed by Donald Trump? You understand that's going to harm their profit margins, right? And negatively impact their ability to hire American workers in the United States that are, again, producing goods based upon certain things that come from global trade.
Yeah, I again, like a lot of these countries though that you're mentioning already have tariffs on us. So I
To the
mean,
level that we're referencing here, placing it on them. I thought the USMCA particularly was to diminish that. Now it seems like Trump's going back on that trade deal, and now he's saying that he doesn't want the USMCA. He wants higher tariffs on Canada and Mexico.
well, yeah, but he is getting the response that he wants. Look, I think his tariff plan, like I don't know, to me, it seems to be part of like a bigger scheme, but
To do what?
that's just
What's to do it?
I think he's using it to essentially essentially like I think he's using it to, well, I don't want to say crash the economy, but he's kind of expediting the correction, the market correction that we're going to be seeing in the next few months, probably up to upwards of a year and a half.
So you think he's purposefully causing a
He,
recession?
he's popping the bubble. It's not that he's purposely causing the recession. It's just that the
That's what it
market.
sounds like what you're saying.
Well, the market's been pretty weak for a long time. It's been
Based on what measures?
Market cap to GDP measure, the also known as the Buffett indicator. It's based on PE ratios, like historic versus now. The market's never been so.
Wait, why is that your only measure for the market?
It's not my only measure. There's like 10
So what
measures
other
of the
measures? Go for it.
Yeah, I just so if you look at PE ratios, like history of PE ratios.
What about
versus,
GDP? What about unemployment?
Yeah, GDP.
What about
cap to
inflation?
GDP. And yeah, that's exactly right. Inflation has been record too.
What? I
The
mean, no, just recently, before Trump was in office, it was lower, right?
Before Trump was in office, it was, but ever since COVID,
And ever since Trump got in office, it's got higher, right?
no, ever since
No,
COVID.
no, really? You think that it was higher at the end of
So
Biden's
how do you attribute?
administration
So explain to
comparative
me
to now?
how do you attribute that to Trump? I'm just curious.
Oh, wait. So again, just because it happens under the administration, it's not caused by them, right? So then why would we attribute
Yeah,
any of the inflation that happened under the Biden-Harris administration to that?
I don't attribute it to the
Okay,
Biden-Harris. I attribute it
fair.
to the federal. Yeah, I attribute it to bad monetary policy. I attribute some level of exponential inflation because of shutting down the economy, and that was entirely Biden-Harris. But in terms of
No, it
monetary
wasn't.
policy,
You think
huh?
Trump wouldn't have shut down the economy?
Well, he didn't. He was trying. He was trying
He
to
wasn't in
reopen.
office when the economy shut down?
He was, and he did shut it down at first.
Okay.
But I'm saying that he at least tried to reopen it, and the Democrats insisted on keeping mask mandates, and so they supported all the Democrat states and continued shutdowns. They shut it down for like 2 years, and that really led to an exponential inflation, like because you had an
I thought
entire.
we're not the production core right now, and we need to incentivize more production in the United States. So how could that be the cause of the increase in inflation if we're not the ones producing the goods?
What do you mean? I'm talking about
Yeah,
monetary
how
inflation.
could US policy domestically be the cause of this if we're the ones not producing the goods? I thought we were just consumers. I thought we're
Because
not the ones
because
producing. We need to incentivize that production because it's all gone overseas.
because we're talking about monetary inflation. You're talking about a different type.
Okay, if you're talking about monetary, then that's not caused by either of the presidencies. So then why are you
It's
bringing that up
it's
as like sort of
exacerbated by
when we're
it's
comparing?
exacerbated.
Listen, when we're comparing presidency, you can't bring up some extraneous factor that's absolutely not relevant because they can't.
I'm not.
Neither
I'm
of them
not.
are going to change that. Both of them are advocating for the same chairman of the Fed.
Look, I don't think Biden, like, obviously the narrative is going to blame Trump this, Biden that. I don't think Biden is to blame for inflation. I think inflation ultimately is bad monetary policy. Like, I mean,
Okay.
you seem like a smart guy. I think you know that too as well.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. Oftentimes, it is caused by monetary policy. Now, would I attribute? I mean, I could attribute some to it. I wouldn't say that's like the full thing. I mean,
It's like 70% of it is that.
I don't know if I could attribute 70% to it, but
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what you read, but even the Federal Reserve reports, are pretty clear on that. That
which
it is
ones? Say that
Um,
70% of inflation can be caused by
yeah,
the
sure. I
monetary
can I
policy.
can actually I can link it to you if you want. You might
Yeah,
be interested in it, but um, I'd have to pull it. I have it saved somewhere. I'd have to pull it up, but I can send it to you if you're actually interested.
sure. Yeah.
But it's the 2023 and 2024 report on the effects of, like essentially like what their
I have
monetary
a
policy
question.
is.
Were you just recently on Jubilee?
I was.
Okay, I thought you sounded like them. I
Yeah,
had
I
I had
was.
some things I wanted to bring. I really wish I could have debated you there. I wish it wasn't
I
some.
know. I thought of you as well because yeah, it was a lot of your usual talking points about global inflation and shit, and I'm like, oh, I hear this all the time. It's completely wrong.
I thought of responses to that. What you're bringing up in terms of Japan, right? That's not related at
Yes.
all to. Wait. That's something that's happened before and existed before. That problem of lack of inflation, right?
Deflation
I
pressures.
feel
I
like that's not
understand. Yes.
referencing the trend of global inflation that did exist. Just by
Right.
referencing Japan, right, which is like historically had an inflation issue because of their population crisis, right?
That's exactly right. But when you say the G7, like Japan is included in the G7, like it is literally a country in the G7. So to
We're
say
not
that
saying
all the
any country in the G7, right?
you had said that in the past.
Like what specifically? The fastest recovery from inflation? Well,
Yes,
that would
you cite.
indicate recovery from inflation would indicate that there was inflation to begin with. You can't say that was true with
I
Japan if
didn't.
you were
No, I
saying
didn't.
that they didn't have a trend of global inflation.
I'm not saying that. Wait. What do you mean? I
You
didn't
said
say
that they
that.
didn't have a trend of global inflation, so how could they have inflation to recover from?
I'm saying that Japan didn't have a trend of inflation. That's right.
Yeah, so then how could they have inflation to recover from? Obviously, if we're saying the fastest recovery from inflation in the G7, that would have indicated that there was inflation to recover from.
Oh, you're so you're. Oh, I see what you're saying.
You
You're
see what
saying
I'm
out of
saying?
the countries that.
Out
Yeah,
of the
but the
countries
countries
that
that.
had to go through recovery, yes.
Right, but the point that you're missing is that the only countries that experience inflation, it was relative to their monetary policy. It's not relative to
But
like
that's not political then.
it. Well, it
That's my issue with
inherently
your point. That's my issue with the point.
it inherently.
If I grant your point to be true, well then that doesn't mean that Trump or Biden are better because they both support the same monetary policy.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. The
And
chairman of the Fed is the
no,
same.
the Republicans are pretty against the Federal Reserve System, like continuously
What is Trump
pumping.
going to do to the Federal Reserve System?
They've talked about that's the whole Ron Paul thing and
Wait,
whatever.
then why
Like, and
doesn't he
Trump,
support a different chairman of the Fed?
it's not about the. I mean, look, the chairman is just a face. It doesn't. They don't actually do anything. Like
Really?
most of the.
You think Jerome Powell's not doing anything? Then why was
I don't
Trump
think
begging
so.
Jerome
No, I
Powell?
think I
So
think
then
it's a lot of
wait. Why was Trump begging Jerome Powell to reduce rates then?
because of politics, man. They just pretend that they just pretend that these things matter, but it's all political. Oh, what, do you disagree with that? They say
I do think
they
that he has
say
some
shit.
power.
They say shit just to say shit. I mean, both parties
Trump
do
just
that.
does that all the time, you know. I mean,
He does.
he
He
does that. Do you
absolutely.
agree he does that more?
No, I think
Okay.
actually the Democrats do it more, but he does it a lot. Now, just to
Okay.
be clear,
But wait,
I'm not
you
like
think spending causes inflation, right?
no spending doesn't cut.
Wait, that's what you said
Adding
at Jubilee. I watched the
no
debate.
money, increasing money supply. If you're gonna
Again, monetary
increasing,
policy,
so
not political. Out of the
it
candidates
is
that
political.
exist, wait, no,
It is political.
Desandra, thank you so much for the media shout. Thank you so much. Out of the candidates that exist, which one causes more inflation, Harris or Trump?
It depends on how the money is going to be added to the.
Yeah. So in terms of debt-related spending, if you were to estimate it based upon their past presidencies, right, the Biden-Harris administration versus the Trump administration, based upon debt-related spending, which one do you think is going to cause more inflation?
It depends. If for
No, it
example,
doesn't.
if
More debt-related
well, let me
spending
give
with
you an
Trump
example.
obviously is going to cause more inflation.
No, not obviously, because, and I'll give you an example. Like if Harris's policies came to fruition with the $25,000, she had a bunch of tax. She essentially had a bunch of tax programs, right? It was like $50,000 to businesses, $25,000 to first-time home buyers. She wanted to expand the child tax credit, etc. It depends how they would have gone about funding that. So if she was to increase corporate taxes, for example, that would increase cost push. That would create cost push inflation, and that would absolutely increase prices. Like you guys constantly say that you're for taxing corporations, but taxing corporation is the same as taxing through a tariff. Like the end consumer eats the cost. I mean, so to say that it doesn't cause inflation is fallacious because you're so against tariffs. Why are you not against corporate taxes for the same reasons?
Okay, so there's a few things. One, you argue that increase in child tax credit is good with the TCJA, but it's bad with Kamala Harris, and
No,
then
I
you're going
didn't
to
argue
ask me
that.
where the
I
money
didn't
comes
argue
from.
that.
Secondly, wait, well, you
I
don't
didn't
think
argue that,
so? You
though.
don't think the TCJA was good in terms of the child tax credit increase?
The child tax credit is a virtue signaling policy to signal to people that we care
No,
about
it's not.
kids.
Wait, Sam
It
told you this.
is. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Did you do any research on Sam's claim?
I did. I made a video
Then
on
what?
it.
Okay,
Actually.
so then what was your response?
Well, you could look at my video, but essentially, the child tax credit didn't lead to any long term wealth at all.
Okay, so
The
no,
poverty
no, no.
rate.
What did
The
what
poverty
did he
rate
claim?
increased. Huh?
I appreciate the whale diving. Thank you so much, Levon.
So
Thank you
Sam's
much for
claim.
sharing.
Sam's claim was that
45% decrease in child poverty. Yes.
that it was not at all sustained, and it actually made it worse. It ended up being worse than when it started.
What's your analysis from?
The Census Bureau. They
What's your
have
title?
you can look up SPM. I have the link in my one second. You can look at SPM. Can I send you would I send you something?
Just tell me
or
the title. Just tell me the title.
Okay, one sec. Let me pull it up. One sec.
Okay, that's fine. Well, thanks so much in the meantime. Yo, I would totally agree with that. Like I do believe the child tax credit increase is what directly led to a
I found
decrease in
it.
child poverty.
Well, no, because child poverty is higher than when it was pre-COVID, but that's my whole point. But if you look
Wait,
at
that
census,
doesn't mean that we're talking about a child tax credit decrease for 1 year.
yes, but
Okay, so
it
then
was
why would
it's an accounting trick.
wait, I appreciate the whale diving. Thank you so much, Lavam. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So why would it permanently be sustained if it is the case that it isn't permanently in place? Can you
Because it's
please
being
make that make sense?
what you're it makes sense here. And I'll respond. What you're attributing to the child tax credit was actually just a bunch of stimulus from COVID pandemic relief. It was an increased unemployment benefits, like longer time and longer and bigger amounts. It was a bunch of increased housing assistance,
To clarify,
rent
you
assistance.
don't think children's parents getting more money for having children will reduce the likelihood that those children are in poverty?
It's not about what I think. It's about what the numbers show.
Wait, I'm asking you. Wait, you're saying that there's just not evidence to indicate that, right? Because it is the case that you could attribute this particularly decrease in childhood poverty to any of the policies that Democrats advocate for. One, you're still
Correct.
advocating that social policies did decrease childhood poverty.
No, I'm
so you
not.
still are arguing.
No,
Wait, so then what was the
they-
cause?
The only thing they increased was dependence.
Wait, you said unemployment insurance. That's a social policy. I thought that's the same social policies that you just disagreed with and said were horrible and said destroyed our economy. Now they're reducing childhood poverty?
I'm saying that the social programs did not actually benefit anyone.
Wait, you just said that they
Long-term.
reduced childhood poverty. You just said that the unemployment insurance led to a reduction in childhood poverty.
They reduced a statistician's number for a
by
couple
45%? So wait, what do you attribute to that being caused by? Was it not
What do you mean?
socialized
What do I attribute
policies? Was the decrease in childhood poverty by 45% not because of the social policies that Democrats passed?
It was because of pandemic aid relief.
Wait. So social policies.
Look, dude, it's like, let me put it I'll put it in simple terms.
Yeah. It's a social policy. Can you admit that, please?
No, because
No,
you're
you
not.
can't. You can't admit that this socialized policy was social policy. Please, you are honestly being disingenuous, right? I thought this would be such a more productive dialogue. If you can't tell me that that's not social policy, the aid that we're getting from the federal government because of COVID, that's insane. I'm sorry, that's so disingenuous.
Wait.
Do
you think we can sustain giving out thousands and thousands of dollars and printing and increasing the money supply?
That's not printing. So the child tax credit, we could pay for that by increasing taxes on people who are rich. If we increase taxes on income over $400,000 a year, that brings in revenue to pay for that.
Do you know how they paid for the CTC under the expansion during COVID? Do you know how they paid for it? It was part of the American Rescue Plan.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that was debt-related spending.
No, they've increased the money supply to pay for it.
They can't increase the money supply. That would be the Federal Reserve. What are you talking
That's
about?
what I'm saying.
They debt spent. I agree they debt spent, right? But that debt spending is way less than Donald Trump's, right? And I would say that's way better debt spending because it's going to be helping children. Like what? You're arguing cutting taxes for rich people, right? Is better in debt spending at a higher degree than cutting taxes for middle class families.
Creating massive amounts of inflation only hurts the poor. It doesn't help them. That's my whole point. That the bill was passed.
Creating inflation. What causes inflation?
Increase in money supply, and that's what I'm
Okay, but that's
talking
not
about.
done by either candidate.
It.
Wait,
I
what?
understand
Wait,
it's not
what
done,
did
but
they
the
do that?
policies.
Wait, are you saying the debt spending, which led to the increase in money supply, right? Okay, then Trump signed off on
The
more
debt. Look,
debt-related spending. Then you're saying that he caused more of an increase in the money supply.
he didn't print more money in his term. That's my. That's
Wait,
the.
they don't print money. What are you talking about?
Okay, let's
You
let's
think
let's
the
start over.
president is
Let's.
printing money? Are you okay?
No, I'm not. That's not. That's not. No, that's not at all what I'm saying.
That's
No,
exactly
obviously,
what you just said. Okay, what did they do to cause the money supply to be increased?
the Federal Reserve System added a
No, I'm
large
asking
amount
you
of
the
money.
presidents. The Biden Harris versus Trump. What did they do to cause the inflation to go up?
Biden, Harris, and Trump on they didn't do anything to increase the money supply. All they did was they just have policies that is essentially debt spending. It's a lot.
Okay,
It's,
okay, I just critiqued this. Kiara, thank you so much for the fireworks. Thank you so much. Again, the debt spending from Trump was more in terms of what was signed into law comparative to the Biden Harris administration, according to the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, around 4
in his
trillion
first term, it
more.
was.
Yes.
In his first term, it was.
Wait, that's what we're comparing. We're comparing both the first terms, right, in terms of what that was in effect on the inflation rate. You're saying debt
Right.
spending is what causes inflation. Trump caused more debt-related spending, right, because he
Right.
signed more into law. You're saying he caused more inflation, yet you supported him? You just said that
Yes,
was a
but
tax
I'm
on the
saying
poor,
that-
yet you're
I'm saying that
supporting
a
that
lot of
tax
the
on the
thing-
poor?
I'm saying that a lot of the money that he spent was specifically because of COVID. That it's
Wait. Non-COVID related spending was more, right? 4.8
non-COVID
trillion.
related spending.
Wait.
It wa-
Wait.
it
Listen,
was
I'll
more
explain
with
to you
the-
the numbers. Push the gold mine. I'll explain to you the numbers. You can find this from the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget. 8.4 trillion overall for Trump signed into law. 4.8 trillion non-COVID related for the Biden-Harris administration. 4.3 trillion overall. 2.2 trillion non-COVID related. So
Yeah.
4.8 versus 2.2, which is preferable?
So yeah, that sounds right. The less is preferable.
2.2, which is the Biden Harris administration. So which one caused more inflation based upon your view because debt related spending causes inflation? It's going to be the Trump administration, right? Because over double the amount of debt related spending that's non-COVID related. Because you said COVID related spending, apparently we can't talk about that, and that's not relevant to talk about inflation.
No, it's not that it's not relevant. It's that it was going to pass no matter which.
Either way you
president
look
was in
at it,
office.
it looks worse for Trump. See, and like when you
No.
omit this information, right, when you're talking about debt related spending, I think it's insane because you don't actually care about fiscal responsibility or debt related spending or
How
actually
do I
think
not?
that actually causes inflation. Because
I-
otherwise, you'd be agreeing with me right now that Trump caused more inflation based upon this
I
policy.
I'm not trying to defend Trump's first term. I think he overspent. I don't think he's a true conservative.
Wait. We're
This-
talking
like,
about
I-
which. I'm sorry. I have to cut you off because we're talking about which one caused inflation. It's disingenuous for you to say, "Oh, we're not talking about the first administration," when we're talking about the effect of their administrations on the inflation rate. Because you're saying that Biden caused more inflation than Trump, so we have to look at
I
the
never
effect of
said
their
that.
administrations. To
I
say
never
that.
said that Biden caused. I specifically said that the inflation cannot be attributed to the president, and we agreed on that.
At
like
all.
when we
Wait, I
first.
thought you said debt-related spending causes inflation more.
It depends on how they pay for it. Yes, like if
Wait,
they.
that's
if
not
they,
what you said earlier, and also that's not what you said at Jubilee.
That is what I've been saying.
No, it's
it depends how you. It depends how you pay for it. If you pay for it through taxes, that's going to create cost push inflation. Yes, absolutely.
How do you define
if you
cost
pay-
push inflation?
Yeah, sure. Cost push inflation is essentially whenever there's an increase in the price of the cost of business, that it's going to be reflected to the consumer. So, for example, if there's a if they increase tariff, for example, or corporate tax rates, if they increase corporate tax rates, those prices are reflected on consumer goods, which is that's an example of cost push inflation. It doesn't mean
It's
your
less
money.
than tariffs because it's not regressive.
No, it's
Because
not less.
progressive. A corporate tax, when you have a marginal tax rate that's higher for the highest incomes, right, is going to be a progressive tax system. So it's not going to have the same effect on consumer prices because you're disproportionately affecting those with the highest income. That's
What would
why
you
under
say-
the Obama administration, you didn't see vast high inflation rates. You didn't see these types of costs being put onto consumers as much, even though you had a higher marginal tax
you
rate
see-
for corporations at 35% at the highest. The highest that Harris was advocating for was 28%. That is 7%
see-
lower than the Obama administration. Yeah,
So you
again,
say-
there was
you say
less
Biden-
inflation then.
You say under Biden we didn't have high inflation. Do we have high inflation under Trump?
Wait, we did have high inflation under Biden. I didn't
What-
dispute that. I said Obama.
Or sorry, that's what I meant. When you said Obama, sorry, I meant Obama. But did we have
Thank you so much. Thank you.
high inflation under Trump?
I'm not saying there was high inflation under either. What I'm saying is there was lower inflation under Obama comparative to Trump. Yet it was the case that there was a higher corporate
When
tax
was there
rate
lo- how
under
was
the
there lower-
Obama administration.
How is there lower inflation under Obama?
You want me to show you the inflation rates? There was an
Yeah,
increase in
I mean,
inflation.
like what years are you talking about?
Yeah, like 2018, 2019, there were higher inflation than like 2016, 2015. Like the
You're
3 years, at last 3 years of Obama, right? You on average had lower levels of inflation than the first 3 years of Trump. Do you dispute that?
I'd have to. It's been a while since I seen the numbers on Obama, but
Okay, just go to the Bureau of Labor
you're
Statistics real
just
quick.
talking about the last 3 years then of Obama.
Yeah, of
I
course.
mean, I think,
That's what we'd make as a comparison there.
but I think there's a reason why you're ignoring the the
Why
years.
why I'm ignoring the financial crisis that he inherited? What? Why would I attribute that to him? The same way I cut off COVID.
Well, like
I said the first 3 years of Trump. I could have brought in COVID.
sure, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, yeah,
Do
obviously
you, do you see
the
how I
effect.
was like trying to get rid of outliers to be able to actually like look at what their policy was?
Right, and that's totally fair. I'm just saying that, like, neither of them even had like what we would consider high inflation compared to what we saw during COVID. It's because inflation is completely and entirely caused by increase in money supply, and they didn't actually, aside from a little bit at the beginning of Obama's administration, they didn't that didn't happen during their terms.
Okay. So again, you said that money supply increase came from an increase in debt-related spending. I showed you how Trump had more debt-related spending increase based on what was signed into law. So you agree with me that Trump, comparative to Biden, caused more inflation?
No, man, that's the whole point I'm getting at. But during Trump's term, inflation was absolutely normal. There was no spike in inflation. That's the whole point. That you're seen to be you're like dancing around this
What was
part
the
of it.
inflation rate in 2018? It got up
Like
to
the
like
yearly
2.8,
inflation.
2.9%, right? During certain months.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
yes,
Is
and
that not higher than what it was prior?
it's not high. The Fed chair at the time before Trump was saying that they wanted a higher inflation rate. So no, it's not.
If they wanted a higher inflation rate, why did
That
they
they
do, why,
wanted it. They
then
want. They were targeting like around
why didn't they lower interest rates more like when Trump asked?
interest rates. They don't lower it. That's the interest rates are inversely correlated with inflation. They don't like
You don't you
again
don't
like
you don't think that the Federal Reserve can influence the decrease in
they
interest
can
rates?
influence it, but it's
That's
like
what I'm saying.
yeah. I mean, you could say they
So then
influence it,
why
but
didn't they do that?
why did they lower because of why did they lower interest rates?
Why didn't they influence the decrease in interest rates if they wanted there to be more inflation?
If they want, wait. What's the question? If they wanted
Why
more
didn't they
inflation,
influence the decrease in interest rates if they wanted to cause more inflation, i.e., an increase in aggregate demand?
they didn't influence. What do you? I don't understand the question. You're
You
saying that
said
they
that the Federal Reserve wanted to increase inflation more. So I'm asking you, why didn't they do, right, lower rates? Why didn't they try to influence lower rates so that there was
what
more
does
aggregate
lower?
demand?
So that's where I'm
Increase in
confused.
aggregate demand. There's more investment
What
within the economy if there are lower interest rates. What?
what do lower rates have to do with inflation? What does that have to?
I'm
What
explaining to you right now the increased aggregate demand. Are you okay?
increasing aggregate demand? What are you
They
talking about?
increase
Like
the amount of money in the economy. More people decide to get loans if it is the case that there's a lower interest rate. Is this a complicated subject?
I guess like I might just not be understanding your question. It's
You
whatever.
should know that. Wait, are you like Austrian economics? Is that what you
Am
follow?
I what?
Do you follow Austrian economics?
Yeah, I mean, I
Then you
like
should know
me
this.
some
This is
Mises, some Mises, some Hayek.
okay. So then why don't you know this? What are you talking about?
What don't I know? What is it that I don't know?
Oh my God, a decrease in the interest rate leads to an increase in aggregate demand,
Yes, because
which puts
okay, yes,
upward
because there's
pressure on
more. Yes, there's
prices.
more. There's more borrowing. Money's being spent more. Okay, I understand what you're saying. So, well,
Yeah.
what is your point?
Wait, that's inflationary pressure, right? So why didn't they do that? If they wanted inflationary pressure, why didn't they do that? I don't know why that was a confusing question to you. Have you studied economics?
Yeah, I study it on my own time. Absolutely.
Like on your okay. I mean, so you don't have like a degree or anything?
No, I just
Okay.
study it on my own.
Right.
I'm just interested in it. I just think it's cool.
Of course.
But
Well,
I
like
think that
in defense of Sam's position, from someone who does have an economics degree, right? I'd love to talk to Sam. That'd be great to talk to him, right? I think that like your arguments are omitting a lot of details, like the amount of debt related spending from each administration, right? You're not talking about like what the actual effect would be in terms of money supply caused by each different presidential candidate, right? You're completely omitting those details when
No,
you're
I'm not
referencing the level
omitting
of inflation caused by spending.
again, like I think you're putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying that like if the government borrows more, that doesn't necessarily increase inflation. Like I think we kind of got on a misunderstanding here. Like it
Mhm.
like
Really? Spending more doesn't cause more inflation? I thought that's what you were arguing.
no, that and that's I think that's the root of our
Debt related spending. Oh,
disagreement.
I agree. Yeah.
Like
So
if
again, debt related spending does not cause more inflation. So then why don't we just debt spend to do things like universal health care, child care, housing affordability? What's the issue with that? Will that not cause inflation?
it wouldn't cause inflation, but we would default on it. We can't pay
We
for it.
would.
We
You
would.
think the U.S. would default? What?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Really?
mean, we're heading there already.
The U.S.
Yes.
would not default. What are you talking about? Healthcare
What?
would cost less if we did it through
Who
a
do you think
governmental
pay? Hold
structure.
on, hold on, hold on. If the government borrows endless money, who pays for it?
Wait. Again, who pays for it? The American economy. And if we do a progressive tax
Wait,
system, disproportionately the rich. I thought you guys say that rich people pay the taxes all the time. So it's going to be
they
rich
do
people.
pay.
It's going
They
to be
do
rich
pay. They
people.
pay more
Well,
under
then it's going
Trump.
to be rich people disproportionately, right?
I
Who's going to
mean,
pay it? Yeah, rich people disproportionately.
what
Why don't we
happens
talk
when you
about
run
that?
out? I don't think there's enough rich people in America, and that's saying something to pay for the awful policies that you
Awful
want to
policies that I just mentioned. Universal healthcare, like I just mentioned, would actually save us money, right? Because of
not.
yeah, because of you're getting care, right? That is going to be preventative, right? In other countries, they have lower per capita costs per individual, and they have, on average, better health outcomes. And a lot of the good research that we get in the United States is funded by public healthcare or public funding anyway.
If you want to talk about like spending, what are you trying to talk about? I guess like let me.
Why you want to cut these massive social programs that have been very beneficial at reducing poverty, homelessness, right? Have helped
Hold on,
keep
hold on.
people in
What is
community.
your where's your evidence that they reduce poverty? Where have they?
Really? You don't
Where
think
has it?
Social Security reduced poverty? You don't think that Medicare reduced
Okay,
poverty? You don't think Medicaid reduced poverty? Do I
Social
seriously have to
Security
explain
did.
to you
Yeah,
what
Social
happened with the
Security.
poverty rates and what happened with homelessness prior to the invention of these programs?
Look, Social
That was
Security
interesting.
absolutely reduced poverty, right?
Well,
But I
now
mean,
you agree
social.
with me.
I've never said that it doesn't. It's not that I changed my mind on this. It absolutely reduced poverty, but it's at the end of the day, it's a Ponzi scheme. I mean, like Social Security is it has issues. Like
I,
you and
I
I are
actually
not
don't
gonna.
dispute that. Here's one thing I will agree with you on. The
So
revenue mechanism for Social Security needs to be reformed. That does not mean that Social Security needs to be got rid of. Okay, over like decades, we're gonna have to revamp the Social Security investment system where it's going to be based upon like certain types of trusts, right? Invested, say, like in the S&P 500, right? Dow Jones,
that would be
Nasdaq,
great.
things like
See,
that. That'd be great. That's how I think we should do it. Like we should give
I
like
would be in favor. So we agree on that.
ten to $20,000 each American when they're born or whenever they immigrate to the
I agree
country,
with.
put into an investment account in the
That's
index
what Vivek
funds
was
that
saying,
over
actually.
time will accrue, and by the time that they pull it out, it's going to be a lot. But the thing is, that's how you ensure people have this type of access to basic things that like will reduce poverty while also having a very very effective funding mechanism that is so much more effective than the current revenue mechanism within the context of Social
But
Security.
bro, you sound Republican. That's
That's
what the
not a Republican policy, though,
it
because
is.
I don't want
That's
because
literally
Republicans want to
the.
they want to subvert Social Security so that benefits are cut, right? What are you talking
There's many
about? I don't
Republicans
want to
that
cut benefits.
the point that you just said about having $10,000 put into an account when you're born. That literally is what Vivek was saying. He said that many times. That's a
But
Republican
yeah,
point.
yeah, but like you understand that takes decades to implement. So you have to keep the same Social Security setup until you can subvert the revenue mechanism. Literally, like 65 years from now. I'm serious. Like it will not be fully set in place till like 65 years from the time that you implement it, because that's the average retirement age, at least as of now.
I agree with you. So
That's
it's
not
I
what
mean
Republicans are advocating for. I think the same type of Social Security should exist until we can subvert that revenue mechanism. That's not what Republicans
Republicans
are
seem
advocating
to
for. They want to privatize
Republicans
it
seem
until you can subvert it.
Republicans seem to be the only ones to actually want to address the like just blatant issues that we all, even Democrats will say that yeah, it has issues. So What is so which Democrat? Can you explain to me what the Democrat plan was for this?
I don't think that either side has the plan that I'm advocating for right now, right? But I think that I want to keep them in place, right? Like Social Security in place. Republicans are trying to undermine Social Security, so clearly I would prefer a Democratic position to a Republican position on this. But that doesn't mean that the Democratic position, right, is perfect by any means. I think that there needs to be something added on top of the Democratic position, like, oh, we need to subvert this revenue mechanism to make it more efficient.
Right. Okay. So look, in Social Security, we probably will agree more than we disagree. But I'm just saying, like, what about what other program aside from Social Security has really benefited people long term in terms
Medicare?
of Medicare?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I get
You
it.
don't think Medicare has been beneficial for seniors?
I mean, I think when they started giving it to illegal immigrants, and
Oh my
I don't know.
God.
I
Wait. By the way, to clarify, you're like Austrian economics, but you're against immigration? That's hilarious. Try to explain that to me. What happened to the free market, the free flow of labor?
I'm actually pretty. I would say I'm pretty pro immigration.
Okay, then why are you saying, oh, it's so bad to be giving things to undocumented immigrants, as if it is the case that you think that they like take from the economy? Right? No, you
They
think
do.
that they
They absolutely
no,
do.
they don't. They provide more to the economy than they take from it. What are you talking about?
No, please give me a source for that one.
yes.
How much? So how much do
I think
do
I
illegal
can show you a
immigrants?
source. Undocumented immigrants paid almost $100 billion of taxes
And how
in
much did they
2022.
cost? Yeah, it was 97. You're right. It was 97.2 billion. Yes. They
Okay, well then
contributed.
you agree then.
No,
how much do you
because
think they
cost?
took?
They cost 154. So no,
Give
I
me a
don't
source.
agree.
Give me a source. From the federal
Yeah.
government?
Huh? Yeah. No, federal. So the 97 billion you're referencing is state and federal. It's both.
Wait, give me your source for 150 billion.
The same source.
And by the
Whatever
way,
same-
are you saying immigration is bad
No, I'm saying
Economically?
illegal immigration is bad for the country.
economically?
It depends on what measure, but yeah, mostly.
Yeah, you do think it's economically bad? That is not an Austrian position.
Again, I like.
That is absolutely not an Austrian
Well, I don't know
position.
why I'm grouped with the Austrians.
You just
all
said
of
that
a
you
sudden.
support. You just said that you followed me.
I'm said I've read it. I've read it. Yes, I've read.
No, you just said you
Hayek.
followed them. I was like, do you support Austrian
Well,
economics? And you were like,
Generally
yeah,
speaking-
I associate
Okay,
myself
so
with
is
them.
that it? So I have to. So you're forcing me to take an all or nothing position, or
No, I'm just saying that that's typically not the
I said-
Austrian
I said
position.
I've
So if
read-
you differ
yes,
from
I've
the
read
Austrian
Hayek
position,
and
that's fine.
huh?
If you differ from the Austrian position, that's fine. I was just saying that it wasn't the Austrian position.
I think the Austrian position kept
Is
into
wrong?
account that no, I think that it had common sense immigration policies in mind. Like I don't think it had open borders in mind.
What? What border would an Austrian economics individual advocate for? They want the free flow of labor between
Yes.
areas. You're restricting the free market.
Well, I mean, the thing is that when you have hundreds of millions of people that want to get into a country, it's not.
Wait,
the equation is a
so
little
the free
different. Right?
free market not good. Free market fails.
That's not free market. That's
That
just
is free
immigration
market. That is absolutely free
It's
market.
immigration policy.
You need to do some more reading.
Whoa, wait, Parker. You're saying that if so
Yes, that is
you'd
free
be-
market. That is free market.
Would you be
a
okay
border
with-
is a restriction on a market. What is a
Right.
market? Can you tell me what a market is?
It's a place, or not a place, but the free flow of goods and services.
Okay.
Exchange.
A free exchange of goods and services. Can there be free exchange of goods and services if there's a border? No, because you're restricted
Well,
from going
yes.
in.
No. So you wait. So you're saying that if there's a border, there's no market?
Yeah, listen. No, listen.
So wait,
it's not a
wait,
free.
wait.
It's not a free market. Listen, because people within the context of Mexico, if they do not have citizenship or right to go, particularly within the United States, well, then they can't transact with people in the United States in the same type of way that they would be able to if there wasn't that restriction. So that's a barrier to exchange. Do you agree? That's what a restriction is.
Yes, I do. I do agree. I do agree.
So what happened to capitalism? What happened to we want immigration because it's literally free
capitalism?
markets?
But capitalism is contingent on having protections for private property and having like a
That's not
reasonable
private
amount
property. That's the government.
Right,
The
but there's
border is not the private property. What are you talking about?
Part of capitalism includes like having a judicial system that actually helps the individuals in the country, right? So it's like if you have mass immigration, like I'll just ask you a simple question then: should we just let hundreds of millions of people come into the country in the name of free market? Is that what your stance is? Like I don't understand.
No, I'm not an Austrian. I'm critiquing your
So
position
then
for
we
what you
agree. So
said
you
you're
and I.
committed to.
So
I do believe in.
I
I
never
do
said
believe.
I was
I
committed.
do believe the market can fail in certain circumstances, and I do think that there should be certain restrictions.
Hold on.
If 100 million people were trying to get into the country, obviously we don't have the infrastructure right now to let in 100 million people.
So,
But obviously, I think there should be a higher rate of flow of immigration than what we currently have right now.
Which Republican or Democrat is arguing for absolute quote unquote free market where you let in hundreds of millions of people
Austrians,
into?
dude, what are you talking about? Have you
I
talked to an
understand, but
Austrian?
when did I get attached to that?
When you said
Like,
that
it
you
just-
like followed them, I also like.
I didn't
mean,
say I
also
just
it's like
I
your
literally-
particular
all I was-
positions. Your
Bro,
particular
you
positions.
asked me if I've read Austrian economists, and all I was saying was yes. Like I've read it. Like it doesn't mean I agree with every single thing. It's
I
obviously,
was asking if you follow it or like you subscribe to it. That's what I was asking.
yeah, but like then you're trying to pin me on this immigration thing that I clearly don't agree with. Like
I'm
mean,
not trying to pin you. I'm just saying that you disagree with Austrian economics and you don't want the free market there.
I want the free market.
No, you don't.
But we should also have common sense immigration
That's
policy.
not free market.
I mean, in absolute.
That is a
so, yeah,
restriction.
but here's what you're telling me. We should abolish, like, essentially we should abolish the government, and then like
I'm
having
not
a
advocating for that. I'm not advocating for
but
a total free market.
You're trying to pin me, like having a government is not free market. So like, should we just get rid of the government?
Government
Like
restricting something in a market is not free
no,
market.
but even like the existence of capitalism is without the state.
You think government intervention doesn't restrict a free market?
I'm saying it does, but I'm just saying if you were if I was making your argument, you could just say like the existence of the state is also anti-free market. But obviously that's not my position. Like that would be but I'm just trying to point out the flaw of your.
Are you against the state restricting free exchange of goods?
Generally speaking, yes. Generally speaking.
Okay. Well then again, I'm just saying that
in absolute terms, no. Like obviously,
okay, well then that. How is that any different from Sam's position?
What do you mean? Sam didn't even seem to understand like basic.
I think Sam probably knows more about this than you. I'm gonna be totally honest. Like if
I don't.
If I sat down and I had a
didn't-
conversation with Sam, I really do believe he would know more. I know you try to
From
portray
talking
yourself
to him-
as knowing so much more about economics than like these
I never
liberals that
said
know
I know
nothing about
more.
economics.
I never said I know more.
I watched the
than-
Jubilee episode. I heard what you said.
Oh,
We can go
I think
over
I know
that.
more than him. I think I know more than him. Yeah, I'm just saying like I don't know. I don't think I know that much,
Okay.
but I think I know more than him
Okay.
because what he was saying made no sense. Like
What
it
you're
actually
saying makes no sense. I honestly think that Sam's
What
position
part-
is more coherent than yours.
What part makes no sense?
I just explained, right? We've gone over a million things. We've gone over the debt-related spending. We've gone over the inflation. We've gone over the restrictions on free market that you think aren't restrictions on the free market, right? Immigration is only bad when you're talking about undocumented immigration, right?
Well,
like
I
here,
mean,
let me
legal immigration is
reference.
legal. Yeah, absolutely.
Wait,
Like,
okay, so
wait,
then why is legal immigration beneficial to the economy, but illegal immigration is not?
because illegal immigration we see in a huge net negative.
Okay, so then shouldn't we just make them legal?
No, because
Why not? It would be beneficial
because
then.
if you provide mass amnesty, like which I guess Biden did try to do, and he did it to some extent.
Wait, you said
that's
legal.
not-
You said legal immigration is beneficial to the economy. So everyone that's in the country, let's just give them a pathway to citizenship. Then they'll be beneficial to the economy, right?
I mean, I see like it's clever wordplay, I guess.
No,
What
it's
you're-
it's the implications of your worldview. That's what it is.
No, it's not.
You've never
That's
had
absolute-
someone who can debate you, who can tell you the implications of your worldview in terms of economics in this way.
You don't know who I debated or who I haven't debated. How do you know that?
I can clearly see that this is the first time you've been asked this question.
Which question in
The
regards to
question I
immigration?
just asked you about immigration here, about restrictions on the market. It's clearly the first time you've heard this question. That's not like I'm not saying I'm like some crazy intellectual for bringing up this question. I'm just saying it's the first time that you've encountered this question.
Right, but the question, the way you're asking it is inherently flawed because like you're just assuming that like we should have endless. Then in that case, like yeah, we should just. It goes back to the same point, which is like why don't we just let in hundreds of millions of people? Like, is that something you support?
I just said there's no reason that we would be able to do that in a short period of time. Over time, yes, absolutely. What? I have no issue with immigration, right? I think that this economy is so much better when we have high levels of immigration.
Do you think respecting immigration law is good for immigration or bad? Like, I mean, do you think like that's part of the equation here is having respect for immigration law?
Those
Is that-
immigration laws have to make sense, right? Like only I would only say someone has a moral obligation to a law if the law is like literally morally makes sense. That
But how
like
does that
in that
position
type of
make?
way. Like
Whoa, wait.
if I
So
can
if the
say that
law,
like I would morally apply a particular law, well then I should say that oh people should probably like uphold that law. Like murder, right? Obviously I think murder should be
wait, but
illegal and I think people should uphold right enforcement of murder
if
laws.
murder doesn't make sense to me or you, and then you break that law, it doesn't matter. Like you're justified because it doesn't make sense to you.
What? I don't know what you're saying.
Like you're saying that the law should only be applied if it makes sense. Makes sense to who? Like
Me, I'm qualifying that under my own view.
right. So if murder doesn't make sense to you and you go murder
Yeah,
someone,
yeah. Like for example, like if I kill like a zygote, I don't think that's murder. I don't think that should be
what if
illegal.
you kill it? What if okay? So what if you kill? So you're saying you're justified in that? If you kill a human
I'm
though,
totally justified in killing a zygote. Yeah,
but if you kill a human, like let's say it's a fully adult, human being,
yeah, it's
just on
wrong.
this.
It's against my. It's
But
against
what
my
what if it
intuitions.
wasn't against it? Like, is it contingent on being against your worldview, or do we have laws that we can respect
That's how
just
ethics.
because?
That's how ethics works. I think ethics are going to be like an emotional state that we have. I
So
think
so you're
ethics
saying
are subjective
if
for everyone.
but you don't see how flawed your argument is.
No, it's not. That's not. What are you talking about?
If you're
When I'm describing to you my moral position, I'm describing to you an emotional state that I have about a particular state of affairs that happen. Okay.
right, but I'm just
What's
saying
my
if we
issue with
apply
that? How do you derive your ethics?
if well, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get into a theological debate here, but
Okay,
because,
I can also critique and say that God, right, prescribing the laws, right, of morality is no different than me doing it.
well, what do you mean? You're saying
It's
you're
subjective.
equivalent to God essentially in this example?
And is no what I'm in terms of it being subjective. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I think I get what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Right, like right, it's dependent upon the truth of God's perspective. How is that any different than it being dependent upon the truth of my perspective? Praise the galaxy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
They're both subjective. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. Look again. Like we can get into. I'm just saying. Like when it comes to like laws, like rule of law, like I don't see how you can like defend your position that like laws should be only followed if you believe in them. Like if you believe that they're
Yeah, yeah. Like okay, do you want me to like respond to this and give you a reason?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, you're in Nazi Germany, right? And the law particularly tells you to enforce, right, like the killing of Jewish people. Would you do it?
No,
Or the
absolutely not.
kidnapping of Anne Frank. Would you do it? No, obviously, because the law is not what is justified just because it is the law. You can critique things that are legal, right? Because you have your own sense of morality.
Yeah, I agree with you. The U.S. had really awful laws back in the day when it came
Yeah,
to
so
slavery.
just because something is legal does not
yes.
mean that. So obviously, you don't just follow a law because it's a law. Does it make sense?
Yes, okay, we agree with that. I'm with you so far. But when it comes to the topic of immigration, should we allow people to just immigrate freely, like totally open borders? Because
No, I'm not advocating for a totally open border. That's not what I'm advocating.
So what do you? So when
I've
then
been pretty
what are you advocating for?
I'm
Legalizing.
I'm advocating for a higher level of immigration than we currently have right now by making it safer and faster to get into the country, which will incentivize people who are already coming to the country to go through the legal mechanisms, right?
And what if enough people come into the country that it becomes unsustainable very quickly? Should we then?
Then you can put restrictions, yeah. But that we're not at those levels, anywhere near that.
Well, you don't think we were?
No.
Huh. Okay. I mean, I don't know.
I actually think that we need immigration to a higher degree because our population isn't going to be able to maintain people who are older.
Yeah, that's the social security argument. The fact that it's a Ponzi scheme.
No,
Yeah,
it's not. No, it's not. It's just saying that we need a larger amount of people in the younger workforce to be able to pay for people who are disproportionately older because people are living for longer times.
Should then those people come here legally?
Yeah. But I think the legal processes should be safer and faster. So I'm not gonna say someone's a horrible person for coming to this country undocumented right now when it takes so fucking long on average to get to this country. This is not what this country is based on. 5 to 7 years on average to get in this country is a ridiculous scam.
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, like
Okay, well then you support the Democratic position.
The Democratic position is not that. The
To make it
Democratic
safer and
position,
faster, yeah, and that the Democrats don't say that there should be
you're-
open borders. Democrats are not advocating for that.
I think you're being like overly generous, like, obviously, because it's the. I don't see that. That's not what
I
the
don't know a
Democrats are
single
doing.
Democrat who advocates for open borders.
Well, Mr. Joe Biden, Miss Kamala Harris, I don't
They do
know.
not advocate for open borders.
Maybe,
Wait.
maybe
Oh
not.
my God, I just remembered something. Oh my
What?
God, do you think that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are socialist?
Do I think they're socialists? What? So I knew this would get a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I used that word intentionally because I knew it would get a lot, a lot of react like the one you just had.
But it's not smart
But
because then
well,
Trump is a socialist too, right?
it depends what you mean by socialist.
Well, that's
Yeah, but
how we're using it in that context.
well, what do you mean? How we're using that on
Yeah,
context?
in the
Like, what do
context in which you
what
said
do
it
you
at
think
the
I meant?
Jubilee debate, right? You
Before
called
I
them
say it,
socialist, or you
what
called
do you
Sam
think
a
I meant?
socialist, something like that.
I'm just
You're
curious.
saying like social policies are socialism. That's what you're saying. So then Trump is socialist then, based on that same
Um,
definition.
you think it's I'm just referring to endless
Social policies,
social.
yeah, social policies
What
exist.
about taxes? What about economic theory? Like,
What economic theory or taxes would be relevant, please?
oh, like I mean, I think that the left position is just never-ending taxes. I mean, I think
So
that's
you're saying
kind
it's
of what they run
more
on.
socialism, but that doesn't mean that you're
You,
not socialist. So are you advocating for socialism because you're not fully free market?
wait. What do you
You're
mean?
not, yeah. You're advocating for socialism because you're not fully free market. That was your definition of socialism then. So it's okay for you to
I
use
never
it against
defined.
Sam. It's okay for you to use it against liberals.
I never
But it's
defined
wrong to
socialism
use it
there.
against you. Okay.
Wait. You can use it. No, you can use anything. You
Okay,
can.
you socialist.
Wait. But hold on. When you talk about socialism, like what do you mean by social? What do you mean?
I think it's when the workers control the means of production.
And where do
I'm
we
not a
see?
socialist. I'm a social democrat, right? I think there's a
No, I
distinction.
know you differ in Sam that you try
Is
to
Sam a
play,
socialist?
huh?
Is Sam a
Yeah,
socialist?
he self-described socialist. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I definitely would
he
disagree with
calls it
Sam.
he calls
I
himself.
think Sam is more left wing than me. I have heard him say that like he wants to just like eradicate billionaires totally. I don't see what the efficacy would be in that. I think it's like a moral thing for him, which like I mean, we can go down like the moral arguments, but like I just don't see any reason we would need to do that, like to get rid of billionaires. I think that we can just get rid of certain types of systems that could allow for billionaires to get into that position based upon exploitation of labor, right? Things like that,
So
right?
you think billionaires exploit labor in the U.S.?
Some do, yeah. I'm not saying all do. Like, I
Okay.
can like, there could be someone who could become a billionaire, and that could be predicated off of predominantly their own labor, right? But the issue is that there is also going to be plenty of other people's labor that we'd also want to give back in, and that's why they pay taxes. But given that they've done that, right, I think that they should still be able to be a billionaire. As long as you pay a high tax rate, you should still be able to be a billionaire. I don't think there should be like a 100% tax rate for billionaires at a specific point. It'd be great for them to continue being taxpayers, right? That's going to provide for our systems.